Good morning, folks. And I listen, I just have to say it is a wonderfully good morning. I'm going to tell you, Monkey and I were talking just a few minutes ago, and I know I'm going to spill the beans. This is probably not good because I didn't tell Monkey that I would spill the beans, but both of us last night have had a terrible time sleeping. I'm going to be willing to bet that that's spiritual attack because I'm going to guess that today is going to be a super great show. We got a lot of great stuff to talk about, and I do want to take one quick moment to acknowledge just a few things. First of all, I do want to acknowledge the folks at Rumble. You guys are absolutely incredible, and we want to thank you guys for featuring us on your front page. They are doing this with some regularity, and that's always a good thing. We'll see that come up here shortly. I want to thank you guys in advance for your Rumble rants. You guys are awesome. You're wonderful. I also want to take a moment to thank you guys that are watching on YouTube. You guys are great. And it's a blessing, the kind of support that you guys continue to show. I do also want to take a moment to acknowledge some of the super chats and super stickers. And as they keep coming through the show, we will do our best to acknowledge you. But if we don't do it right away, we'll definitely do it near the end. And we only have one so far, and that is Heather Snowball. And she says, blessed be the name that is above every other name. Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, are great and only God worthy of all praise and worship. And I cannot think of a better way to start a show like the one that we're doing. Okay, Monkey, let's get right down to it. First of all, this is kind of an important thing. Probably the most important question that I'm going to ask of the day. How do you like the new countdown?
Dude, I love it. I love it.
It's not the most important question. It isn't.
It's good. It's legit, and it's nice. It's a little entertaining. Gets you kind of prepped for the show. So it's cool. I love it.
We have a great new multimedia guy that I just hired, and he is doing an absolutely fantastic job. Charles is a blessing to us, and he works hard, which is good because most people that work for me, if they don't work hard, they don't survive. So that's a good thing. I think Charles will be around for a long time. James, thank you so much for your super chat. You're awesome. Monkey, how are you doing? First and foremost, let's talk about that, and then let's get into some other interesting stuff.
Yeah. No, I'm doing okay, man. I'm just I've had better days. I like I was telling you, man, I did not sleep. I probably got an hour and a half's worth of sleep last night, and I'm just really dragging today. So I hit the shot of espresso before we got started to try and give me a little a boost, get me through the next time slot here, and then but yeah, everything's going well. I'm anxious about it. My trip coming up, headed to out of the country with the world just going to hell in a handbasket. So it's, the timing is always good. Ain't no doubt about that.
Oh yeah.
It's nuts. I'm watching stuff heat up in over, Israel just popped the shot off with somebody in Palestine, and that typically stirs things up a little bit. Right. And, and then you got this whole deal. We got the election coming up, which makes us ripe for the picking for a fantasy football event. And I'm used the Capitals there that began that. It has nothing to do with football, but you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So things are crazy. I do want to start off by simply saying you were right, and the naysayers were stinking wrong about the pipeline. Yeah. And we can talk a little bit about that on Locals. That's a very interesting one. And by the way, it is really interesting. No one's going to know what we're actually talking about when I say this, but I forgot to tell you this before the show. And regarding the question on that exchange we had earlier that involved the pictures and all that.
Yes.
So the only way that those would get brought out is for, like you called it, like a small kind of a
QRF
troop movement. Yep. But the most likely reason why those are getting put out is, ready for this? Brace yourself, bro. And both my guys agree. It's CIA and contractors.
Yeah.
So that makes perfect sense because old boy's getting protected, and they're protecting their assets, which we'll talk about on Locals. So it's kind of an interesting thing that you're 100% right on the market, or right on the money, bro.
Yeah, that's I know, and we're talking in code right now, and there's a reason for that, but it is you're absolutely right. But that, you know what, it just goes to show you the reach and depth of our crowdsource just from people
Yeah.
that watch, the people that plug in stuff, that share stuff. That yeah, it's astounding, and it's a blessing, honestly. And I haven't just like we did now. I haven't really. I've talked around it, but it it opened my eyes to some things too, because that was actually probably done covertly, because you always think uh a duck is a duck, but then all of a sudden you see that take place and you go, whoa, wait a minute, that's a chicken disguised as a duck. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
bro.
So
Listen,
it's
and
clever.
yeah, it is. It's very clever, and we'll get into it on locals because it's the safe place to talk about it. But I will
Yeah.
tell you this: it is. You are right. You've been right about this pipeline, but I'll take it a little bit further.
Mm.
We're continuing to find vindication
Yeah.
over the discussion, the long-term discussion we've been having regarding the CIA and Ukraine.
Yeah.
We just need to understand that there are assets that the United States is seeking to protect
Yeah.
for lots of different
100%.
reasons.
Yeah.
That deep state is seeking to protect, and it is absolutely crazy. It's just absolutely insane. So,
Yeah. I
um,
mean, you have to ask yourself, why are we there? Why are we still there?
yep, yep.
Why? Well, I mean, NATO won't let these guys in because they're so corrupt. Why are we there? Do
I
you think
know.
for a second, 45 would have put one penny into that place? Not a chance.
Listen. I personally think that NATO not letting them in because they're corrupt is their cover reason for not being corrupt.
Yeah.
I believe that NATO not wanting to have them as a member nation, and I've never said this publicly, but now I have no problem saying it because I've been vetting things like crazy, and I've
Yeah.
really been thinking through this. I think NATO's lack of desire to have Ukraine join as a member state is strictly a globalism versus deep state decision. I
Yeah.
believe the globalists, which predominantly are represented by the alliance, the NATO, the NATO alliance, is directly against the interests of the United States of America. The
Yeah.
United States of America is a member nation of that alliance for
Yeah.
fiscal reasons, financial reasons,
Yeah.
right? But the reality of it is they have no desire to protect the deep state assets that exist within Ukraine. And I believe that they want to keep their options open in
Yeah.
exploiting those assets when there is a full scale back and forth between the United States and these European nations. As a matter of fact,
Yeah.
I think Putin is very, very aware of that.
Yeah.
I
he
think
is.
he's super smart and he knows
Mhm.
exactly the dynamic that's been going on between the deep state infrastructure here in the United States of America and the globalists as represented by the UN, EU, and NATO.
Yeah.
And I think that he is working very hard to pit those nations against the United States of America. By the way,
Yeah.
he did it already very successfully
Yeah.
when he chose to pit the United States of America versus Russia. He made it a Western, fight. The West wants to destroy your way of life, and he
Yeah.
did a very, 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 very good job. So
Yes.
this should be of particular interest. And I think it's one of those things that we should be paying more attention to. But I've never said that publicly, but I'm going to tell you this right now. I really believe that's the reason why NATO will never let Ukraine in as a member nation. I think Ukraine as a member nation will never be acknowledged on that level for any reason.
Yeah. Well, the corruption in that region is outstanding. I mean, you look at Belarus, for example. I mean, they're the number one human trafficking country in the world. And you would think, someplace in Asia would be. That just goes to show you the amount of people that are being trafficked, right? And so, but yeah, I mean, here's the thing: NATO. The reason they aren't screaming about that pipeline even more and saying the U.S. did it is because we hold the purse strings to NATO. If we back out of NATO, NATO collapses. Simple as that. Because we are the ones funding a majority of the NATO activity and the NATO funds. I mean, that's us coming from us. So I mean, and Trump said that right early on. Trump was like, NATO is a farce. So we're going to pull our money out of the UN. We're pulling out of NATO. We're pulling out all this stuff. We're not putting our money in it unless you get other countries that start ponying up some money, because we're funding 90% of it. So
Yeah, I could not agree with you more, bro.
Yeah.
And I think that the reason, listen, if you hold the purse strings to the organization, then in essence you'll be able to control it. And I think that the member nations of the alliance are getting sick of that. They want their cake and they want to eat it too, and they want to now control those things, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if you've looked at the map in the last 4 days, but Russia has stepped up their campaign in their airstrikes into Ukraine on a unprecedented level. I mean, it's been
do you have the ability to bring that up right now?
Yeah, give me a second because I haven't spooled my screen up to match today. So let me just do that real fast and we can see. Actually, you know what may be better is let me text you the picture. The picture.
Oh yeah,
let me
the pic.
Let me send you the picture.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness!
Yeah, because my map has got to. I'll have to regenerate and do the. It'll be a lot faster if I send this to you.
Just text it to me if you can, or email it. Emailing it might be a little easier.
Okay.
Either way. Yeah, because that's going to lead us into our next conversation. And matter of fact, while you're doing that, let me just read off a few names here. For those of you guys that are doing supers, you are awesome. Sir Lewis Kent of the Burnt Cookie, Jessica Fadley, Don Diskin Holland, Elizabeth Slaughter Burr, Thunderfish, Jeanette Elizabeth. I will read your comments at the end of our broadcast, but I just wanted to acknowledge you guys and say thank you so much for your support. You guys are amazing. Very, very amazing. Yeah, this picture that Monkey is talking about is pretty unbelievable. What it really shows us is some things that we need to really be thinking about, right? This is not a small thing.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, let's go over the picture first, and we'll talk about that. Monkey, did you email it over?
I texted it to you.
Oh, you texted it to me. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I'd already hit send before you.
No, that's even better. No, that's perfect. That's even better. Yep, there we go. Okay, so I am going to take this thing. Let me screenshot it and then get it up to you guys. But we're gonna explain this to you, and what you're gonna be looking at here is astounding. Okay,
Yes.
really, really astounding, because this is giving us a very graphic picture of something that's happening right now that everybody needs to be aware of, right? And so, Monkey, before I put it up, because I will get it up in just a second,
Yes.
can you explain to everybody what this is that we're looking at here?
Yeah, so the map is going to be let me go back over here to, it's called liveuamap.com. And it's basically just a map of all of the stories that break in the Ukraine. Now you can select any region around the world, really, and it'll pull in any active stories that are taking shape. Now the app, what I found is the mobile app is a little more complete than the website. The website is they don't match, right? But this basically shows you both sides. Like you'll see blue dots and red dots, and the red dots are Russian attacking. The red zones are areas where the Russia controls. The solid red dots, like at the top and things like that, those are basically Russian troop locations, right? That's where they're amassing at the border.
You want to let people know what country we're looking at here?
Yeah, this is Ukraine, and to the north is Belarus, and that's where you see those solid red dots. And then as you go to the left, it all stays inside Ukraine. So, but what you see are those the blue that look like just the blue symbols there. Those are actually air siren alerts, letting people know, hey, there's an inbound, something coming inbound, airstrike, or artillery or whatever it may be. And so, but it just goes to show you that the Russians are definitely stepping it up, and they are hitting all the way out to the border. Now you start getting over to that top left corner and to the left border there, like we see, and you're starting to get into the area where a lot of those bio labs are. So. That could get really interesting if you go popping something off and take one of those out, because now you probably, not only are you going to send, monkeys all over the street, but you're probably going to also send something into the air that's probably not going to be good for the environment, if you know what I'm saying.
Undoubtedly. And this should be very eye-opening. This is a data point that I think we should not minimize. And I love this because Monkey watches these all the time. This is what he kind of does full time, is he looks at this. And I just thank God that I have a phenomenal intelligence source like Monkey that shows this to me, because what this does, anytime Monkey gives me these updates, and he does it quite often, right? I mean, it's a pretty regular thing, which, by the way, if you guys have not subscribed to Forward Observer, you should. There's a lot of great intel that comes out of that. I read their briefs every day now. Monkey turned me on to that. But what is very interesting is Monkey will still send me the ones that really catches his eye, and then I tend to look into those a little deeper. They're very, very good. But we are looking at these data points that continue to communicate the crux of the problem. And the crux of the problem is the growing aggression of Russia, right? And the lack of desire that anybody seems to have to want to quell that aggression. As a matter of fact, it would appear as though there is a demonically inspired, concerted effort to seek to cause the aggression to grow.
Right.
And to me, and I think to all of us, that should be uniquely alarming. That should not be something that should just kind of cause everybody to just like, oh, well, whatever. This is alarming. This is not small. This is a big deal. So,
it is.
And it's a big deal for several reasons. Perhaps the greatest of reasons is the more Russia becomes unchecked, right, the faster we begin to pursue and approach the Ezekiel 38 scenario, right? Now, I want to say this. Look, I think this is a good preface to bring in, because there has been a lot of talk about this, especially as it relates to the third temple and all of the things that are going on. I think Christians have a very misfounded, especially those studying Bible prophecy, we have sometimes a misdirected or a misfounded excitement about some of the news that we hear regarding certain end times events. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm excited when I hear about news that relates to the third temple being built from one perspective and one perspective only. And that means, that is, look, Christ's coming is around the corner, right? And so I get excited about the return of Christ. But nobody should ever be excited. No Christian should ever be excited about the temple being built that is going to be for the Antichrist. That's not a good thing. That's a bad thing. And, again, there is more news that's circling around the red heifers and all that kind of stuff. We've seen thousands of them, guys, over the years. I'm not minimizing what's going on, right? But what I'm saying is, all of you Christians that are like spending money and donating stuff to have the temple rebuilt, stop it. You're giving money to the Antichrist, right? Like, we know that that's going to happen. Why are you spending money to make it? You think it's going to happen faster? No, it's going to happen when God allows it to happen. Why don't we take our financial resources and use them for the glory of God in a solid context that the gospel may actually be furthered, right? Now, I bring all of this up because when we see the aggression of Russia begin to increase, undoubtedly it is not an exciting thing, right? It's a bad thing, especially if you're an American. Because as an American, we have a president right now, we have a sitting president who has absolutely lost his mind and who is continuing to encourage the aggression to increase to the point where he has now told the American people, be ready for nuclear war.
Yeah. And he did it in a manner that was just kind of like, it happens. It's not, it was a fearmonger thing for us, right? I mean, he's like basically saying he wants to control us and keep us in fear. And if anything, that should make us all want to get him out of the presidency. You know?
Yeah, undoubtedly. The fear-mongering that's going on is going to work against him because anybody raise their hand right now if you want Flashbang to be in charge when we have some kind of a nuclear event begin to take place. I mean, that's insane.
Yes, it is.
That's absolutely insane. So there are some markers right now that we are looking at, data points that are alarming. One of them being the destruction of Nord Stream by virtue of certain areas being done. By the way, those were United States assets that were in or around that area at the time that that destruction took place. It's an undeniable fact. Even the United States of America has conceded to that. The Navy has disclosed that they had their assets there during that time and still are not being open under the auspice of it being classified regarding what actually happened. And again, praise God that we have a network of people that are very connected and are seeing everything very clearly. I think it's a very, very, very important data point. And then from there, things are beginning to snowball, aren't they?
Yeah, for sure. No doubt about that. I here's my thing though. I don't think Putin is going to he's not going to make any moves between now and the election.
I agree.
100%.
100%.
He won't, because all that does is strengthen Flashbang's position and the deep state's position. What will happen if he does that is that everybody will rally around. And when I say make any moves, I mean towards the United States or towards NATO, because what will happen is, especially if something pops off here in the U.S., that would just rally people against him, and he doesn't want to do that. That's one of the reasons why he's not doing anything. The other piece too is he needs Trump to get back into office, and if he disrupts this election cycle and we don't get the House and take control of the Senate, then it's going to be really bad for all of us as well as him, because now all of a sudden that changes the dynamics of this chess game, so to speak, right? So he needs the Trumpers to basically get the House and the Senate back, because that will basically strengthen his position in Europe, right? So we'll see what happens here, but it is definitely, like I said, the next we got about 22 days, I think, are going to be very interesting here in the United States, because we are primed for a false flag event. 100%.
And there's a lot of things that are coming. And I'd like you to describe what a false flag event is, because I know it's very basic to us, but there's a lot of people right now that are not. And I want to add one more data point when we talk about the coming of this, right? And I'm going to do a video on it. We'll see what happens with that video. But the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, that means the royal family, has confirmed that Flashbang attempted to get them to postpone oil cuts until after the midterms.
Yeah.
Right? Now, this is a legit story. This is coming from
Sure
Zero Hedge, and the foreign ministry at the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has put out an official document actually stipulating that the request for OPEC, cuts on OPEC to not get put into fruition until after the midterm. Now, this is a very, very interesting thing, because it only confirms everything that we know regarding what is going on. And listen, the politics are played. The politicians are going to do whatever they can. But my point behind it is, whether or not anybody wants to admit it, once we get past the midterm, it doesn't matter what the result is. Obviously, we have a much better chance of things getting better if the result is non-Democrat, right?
Yeah.
If it's Republican, I mean, not that I have much respect for most Republicans. I think they're also a joke, bunch of mainstream country-hating bozos. They're dirty as heck, right? Yeah. Especially some of these main heads like Lindsey Graham and some of these other guys. I'm never going to support those clowns. Right. But it is interesting, because we know that the oil prices are going to go through the roof again. And we know that because there's another data point, and that is the Flashbang administration announced that they would start buying oil again to refill their strategic reserves once it got down to $80 a barrel, which means, in essence, we are going to end up finding ourselves in a position where oil is going to skyrocket yet again, and it won't go down, because if the United States of America starts buying oil in the condition of the strategic oil preserve being where it is, we're going to be in some huge trouble.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, you can actually just start watching the pump. You'll see it starting to creep up. They're trying to do everything they can to keep that under control. The problem is he's darn near depleted our strategic reserve, and his ability to keep those prices hidden, so to speak, right? Where now they're creative, right? So they go to the states and they go, hey, we're going to waive the taxes per gallon, or at least reduce them so that it takes them down a little bit, and we'll bring them back after the election. And, oh, by the way, this is part of their plan, because if we are successful in taking back the House and picking up some seats in the Senate, and then we get past the election and they jack the gas prices up, they're going to go, see, told you, it's because the Republicans just won, and this is what you're going to be getting for the next 2 years.
That is such a brilliant statement, Monkey. They are seeking to ensue a long-term devastation, right, on the economy, so that they can blame the change, because of one reason and one reason only. They know the change is inevitable. People do not want to continue living this way.
Right. Yep.
I think that's a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but just watch. Like I said, we've got a president right now that has got a horrible historic rating for his presidency in terms of approval ratings. And if you break it down by actually Democrats versus Republicans, it's worse than actually the combined, because the combined pulls in independents and things But yeah, we're sitting right before an event to take place to rally. This is what they do, right? This is true American politics. Is what they'll do is have some type of this false flag event that we discussed, right? That's where something takes place. Let's say 9/11, for example, right? Look what happened. George Bush's approval rating was in the 40s when 9/11 popped off, and the day after that took shape, the dude's approval rating bounced all the way up to like 90 something percent. So
Substantially.
yeah, and
Eh,
so that is what they will do to rally, and they'll do it right before the vote. They did this in California. You may remember when Obama, the economy was kind of teeter-tottering, and it was going to cost him votes. And then the day before everybody went to the polls, they brought out the unemployment numbers, and they looked horrific. So what did they do? They pulled California's numbers out of it, and it gave it a dead cat bounce.
Oh
And
yeah.
so, and then they just subtly announced, oh, one of the states didn't get their stuff submitted in time. They didn't say who, um, because it would have shown the magnitude of the deception that just took place. And it was California. And had they put California into the unemployment number, it would have shown horrible numbers, and it would have given an indication that the economy was actually on the down and not on the up. And so that's the games that they play. And so I don't put it past them to do something false flag wise, to where they would create something here in the United States and blame it on Russia, so that we all rally around, flashbang in our country and we set all the partisan ship aside. And I did say with a P, not T. And so, you know what I'm saying? But they put all of that aside, and everybody unites, and we all get behind our president. And then, this is the shenanigans that they'll play. And the sad thing is that about half of our population will take that lock, stock, and barrel, and they'll just embrace it, because they're just a bunch of mindless sheep. And we'll be right in the position they want us to be in. It could even delay the election. One thing's for sure, they're not going to allow Trump to get back into office. And if we are successful in this next election cycle at getting everything leveled back out, then it kind of paves the way for somebody like Trump to come back in and basically, take off running. So
I do
like I
think that no matter what gets attempted, and I have to be very, very careful because we're walking on some very dangerous ground here. But I think no matter what gets attempted, I think that if we do get folks in the midterms the way we're hoping that's going to end up happening, nobody is going to stop a Trump DeSantis ticket. No, there's just no way, because when you have and I guess we'll talk about this on locals, but let me just give another idea. Let's say somebody's running for student council, right? And there are 300 students that run for student council, and you get 300 votes in, right? And or let's just say you get 295 people that vote for one person, and then there's another 300 that voted for another. Well, then they're going to realize that there was a miscount, if you know what I mean. So the point is if we have an overwhelmingly large majority of people that end up voting, and they vote for, who we're hoping, then that's going to be something that will be indisputable. And I'll just leave it at that, because if we go any further, then, it's going to end up being ugly. And we could definitely talk about that on locals, because there's a lot to be said about that very, very specific subject. And it's kind of an interesting thing. So, So also, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, keep your eye on Tulsi. And the reason I say that is because she just changed from a Democrat to Republican, and she is a graduate of the WEF, Young Global Leaders.
So this was one of the things that I was going to ask you near the end of the show over, because I thought it was so unique. What's your thought on that, bro? Do you think that's an infiltration? Because that may very well be the very first mainstream establishment Republican that
Flipped.
That's a member of the World Economic Forum's school or graduate from their school.
Yeah.
I don't think we have anybody on the conservative, what we would call the conservative side, other than the Prime Minister of England, and a few others. I don't know how mainstream that is, and this is going to be a very interesting picture. I'm very interested to see what you think about this.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if she didn't get a call from one of Klaus's cronies to say, listen, here's what you got to do. We're trying to hedge our bets. because we think you can probably get in using that ticket, because there's going to be, you're going to have vacancies like Pelosi and Cheney and these folks that are not going to get through to the next level, and they're just going down in flames. So we're going to hedge our bets and get you to change your ticket. We'll get you over there. So it's, wolf among the sheep. And that's probably what they did. They're probably trying to align her as a power play, so that even when it appears that you got somebody in the R column, they're really in the D column.
100%. 100%, bro. And I will tell you, there's a lot of people talking about Ivanka graduating from that school. And here's something that's very interesting. I'll just say this. If you guys have not watched the interview of Kanye West by Tucker Carlson, y'all need to watch it. Especially when Kanye starts talking about the Abraham Accords. Because although he's an entertainer and does not really understand thoroughly the geopolitics of the region and many of the things going on there, he does say some remarkably interesting things about the venture capitalists, being, of course, Kushner's relatives that got behind this a little bit. Now, don't get me wrong. I do not agree with Kanye's assessment that the Abraham Accords were just done strictly for financial reasons. I do think that they were driven by great financial opportunities on behalf of those who authored it. I do believe that there is a lot more at play with respect to the geopolitics of the area, especially for the benefit of Israel. However, what he does say is very interesting because he does expose the relationships that centered around our former president that did not serve him as well as they could have because of their own internal interests. So this is very interesting, and it goes into play with what we were talking about regarding all of this stuff.
Yep, 100%. Well, it's going to be interesting. Like I said, we got about 22 days, I think, if we make it to the actual election itself.
Yeah, I'm with you on
God
that.
willing, nothing happens. But I'd be very shocked. Just be very shocked.
Yeah, I would be shocked as well. I think that there is oh my goodness. Look, let's go to the subject that we had mentioned here, and I do think it's kind of a big deal. Nuclear war.
Yeah.
My question behind that is, how viable is it, right?
Yeah.
At least one nuclear attack typically. And then considering its viability, is it reasonable to say that we might see some kind of timing related to upcoming elections?
Yeah. Like I said, I think if one pops off here in the U.S., it will be homegrown, if you know what I'm saying.
Yep.
And it would be portrayed as though Russia did it, or somebody within Russia. Maybe not directly Russia, but maybe some Russian sympathizers or somebody that snuck across the border or something along those lines, just to paint him in that light. And then in the coming months, you may see us start to engage with NATO and go after some of the Russian assets. Then we'll be in full scale war, but it's not far off. But here's the thing: if they do it in the United States, they're not going to do it anywhere we have our military industrial base located. For example, Carswell, right? That's the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter production, main production line, right? They're not going to hit Southern California because you've got so many you got Northrop Grumman, BAE Systems, you've got Hughes. I mean, there's just tons and tons of companies in Southern Cal around El Segundo, in that general area that basically are providing, F-18s, F-35s, B-2s, B-21s, right? You get into Palmdale. So they wouldn't pop anything off there. They wouldn't hit Seattle because that's also another one of that's the breadbasket in terms of military industrial complex, right? And plus you got Boeing there. It would cripple our economy. So what does that leave? That leaves locations like, for example, Dallas, right? You hit it right in the heart of the United States. Or you hit New York, right? Then you hit a massive populace, and that rallies everybody together because it would be horrible because of the population that's up there. You would hit locations like that. You wouldn't hit somewhere out in Montana because there's nothing out there other than silos. But so if there is something conducted here within the United States, where it is conducted will be very telling as to who conducted it, right?
Right. Yeah.
If Putin is going to hit the U.S., he's going to take out the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter because he doesn't want any more of those getting in the air that he has to fight against. He's going to take out missile silos. He's going to take out something that is militarily based, whether it's a military base itself or the industrial complex. That would be targets that if those go, then okay, that was a real Russian attack, and it will probably not just be one. But that's just my thought. Now, will he use them in Ukraine? I think if we come in hot and heavy, we're starting to put a lot of things like missile defense systems in. You're seeing that actually increase dramatically all around the country. And the fact that we're starting to put those in just goes to show you that he is definitely on the uptick in terms of his attacks into Ukraine. But if we get him mad enough, I can see him popping one off there, or even he's pulling Belarus into this mix too. I could see something popping off in Poland and just standing NATO straight up and down, not hitting something within Ukraine, but hitting something in Poland. That would just, if you hit Warsaw or you hit one of the base locations where we've got troops and F-22s and all the other stuff, that's going to make everybody in NATO stand up. And so that I could see him doing that for sure.
Yeah, and I think that we are in a very, very, very dangerous spot right now.
Yeah,
because
for sure.
It doesn't take a genius to be able to see that Flashbang is by far the worst executive we have ever had in this country.
Yeah.
And most people will concede to that. There are very few people that still roll around with Flashbang bumper stickers and so on and so forth. We're not seeing a lot of that. And the ones that are probably just forgot or don't care or just completely that aloof. They hate our country that much. The current regime that has been instilled, you've got to understand, their whole goal is, in essence, to bring the country down to nothing. Because the idea is, if I can bring the country down to nothing, then I can sweep in as the hero and fix it and make it a fraction of what it was, and yet still cause the people to be thankful for all that has happened. That is what we call mass psychosis. And I'm telling you right now, that's exactly what we're watching. We're watching mass psychosis.
Yeah. Yeah, we are. It's, I don't think this country, we thought it was kind of bad whenever we had a Hillary run-in, because I think it scared everybody to death. And the fact that Trump won, I think that gave everybody a little bit of hope. But I don't think we've ever been in this predicament in our country, other than probably the Cold War, Bay of Pigs, Cuban Missile Crisis, that kind of thing. These are unprecedented times. They really are. And everybody, it's not just somebody rattling sabers between, Russia and the United States. There's look around the world at all the countries that are going hot right now. It's China, Taiwan, China, US, Russia, US, Russia, Ukraine, NATO, Russia, which is all of Europe. Then you get over to like Nepal and into India, and you got that going on with China, and you've got and then you've got the unrest within the countries themselves, like Bangladesh and Sri Lanka and all these different, Brazil, Yemen. This is unprecedented. We've never had anything like this before,
I wish that I could tell you that you are wrong, but you are not. You are very, very much correct. Your assertion regarding this is spot on. And I think it's time for many of us to wake up to actually see what's going on, because there are a lot more data points as well that many of us are not even considering. Actually, many people are not considering. I think we're considering them. We're considering them quite well, and we're reflecting upon them pretty substantially, right? But I guess the question, and this is this is kind of a big one, right? This isn't small, right? The question comes, what's next? What's happening here? Where are we going with all of this? Especially in the short term. This is interesting. If, assuming, and I don't think I'm wrong, assuming that Nord Stream was actively sabotaged by who, assuming that we are watching a very complicit action taking place to pit the West, namely the United States of America, against all of Europe, NATO, EU, UN, all of that, we could be on the precipice here of something that is so permanently destructive that it's beyond anybody's capacity to be able to understand or watch or see.
Yeah. 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 It's
Can we do?
dude, I mean, this is like I said, I mean, I'm watching so many different dynamics. Every time I come in to do a sit rep and I look at the skies, I look at the ground, I look at the naval activity, I look at all of it is just like, whoa, it is it's staggering. It really is staggering because there's just so many different moving pieces right now. And then you pull in the headlines of the stuff going on with our economy. For example, we just had, and Zero Hedge are the ones that pushed this out there, but they just said that 75% reduction in our Pacific supply chain stuff, right? Basically, in the shipping lanes, like it's reduced by 75%. Well, duh, we've been talking about that for 4 months, 5
Yeah.
months.
We've been saying, and we said it would happen around this time.
Yep, we did. And it's but as I pointed that out, I had so many people that, naysayers that would go, "Oh, this stuff is normal. There's nothing." And I'm like, "No, it's not normal." My background is supply chain. That is I mean, even though I'm aviation from a specialty perspective, I'm a Lean Six Sigma black belt and I've been doing supply chain stuff for a very long time. And so I understand all of those red flags when you start to see them, but there are other things that were not just a matter of the fact that the ships aren't moving and they're parked and they're not coming over to our shores. But there were things, early indicators like Amazon laying off 100,000 people in 3 months. Target and Walmart canceling over $1 billion in orders because they couldn't get the product. They wanted to get the orders off their books. It's just been a series of events like that where I'm like, yep, that is further confirmation. And then yesterday, Zero Hedge puts out the thing that says, we're seeing a 75% in reduction in our supply chain from Asian Pacific. And I'm like, yep, it's like I said, it's coming. It's been a slow burn, a little slower than I expected, actually. And that's because they're moving things via air right now. They're trying to get things over so they can stop the bleed for the critical industries, things like medical supplies, things like the medical industry, the auto industry, the air conditioning, right? HVAC stuff. I mean, all these industries, the ones that are very high volume type of stuff, that's the stuff that's coming over via air. And you're seeing proof in the pudding is that the prices of everything are going up, right? I mean, you go try to get Freon for your, to have them come out and do, put Freon in your AC unit, and the price is now like 9x what it used to be. It's per pound. It's insane. It used to be $100 for one of the big containers of, like, if you went and got like the gas at Lowe's or whatever, right? Blue Ox gas or whatever it is. That size container for Freon was $100, and today it's 500 plus, and in some cases it's even higher than that. So it's crazy.
It is. It's such a crazy thought. I am dumbfounded by all of that, and the data is so there. It's so obvious. Monkey, can you do a little bit of flight analysis for us? Are you in a position where you can do that?
Yeah, let me pull up real fast and take a gander at what I've got on my screen. And it'll be on the fly real time, so we'll just take a look and see what's in the air.
Best. It's always the best when you do that, especially because this time of day, all over the country and the world right now, it's very telling.
Yeah, it is. Here I'm gonna share my screen, not my camera.
Okay, and I'm gonna go to a big screen so that everybody can see it.
Okay. And here we go. All right, so you can see. This is Skyglass. Again, if you don't have this tool, this is you can just go out and download it. It's about $5 a month, but you do get a better quality product. One of the reasons why this product was so much better looking at the Nord Stream stuff is because you can look at things from above that tell the picture, but as soon as you get down to the side, you can actually see the different flight elevations, etc. Like this, for example, you can see these are high flyers. These are Mil-Intel balloons at about 80,000 feet. This one here is at 80,000. But these are balloons that are watching us 24/7. But let's see. Look at the board here. We've got 61 NAs, and let me see if we've got from the electronic suite. Okay, we got 4 E6s up. Those are going to be your TACAMOs. Those are aircraft that talk to our ICBMs. 1 AWACS, 5 other AWACS.
Where's the AWACS, bro? I'm curious. Where are they flying the AWACSs?
You've got well, hang on one second. I'm going
Because
to
that's
increase.
very interesting. Those AWACSs have some stupid spy capability. They see things that are unbelievable.
Yeah, they do. Let me do this too. I'm going to grab these E135. That's electronic 135. That's a new one for me. So I'll have to let me keep going down.
Okay, gotcha.
P3s, P8s. I'm basically gonna highlight the ones that are that will reveal some data to what we're kind of seeing out there. So yeah, 41 H60s up. That's a lot of helos. Those are
My
Blackhawks, by the way,
goodness.
which is a very high number. Average is about 6 to 8. So
And where are they typically concentrated, or are they not concentrated?
Panhandle, Florida. They're usually you get a lot of training stuff, but oh yeah, I'll come back to H60s. We'll look at that. Let me see. I'm not seeing any R135s up, which is very interesting. And I'm not seeing the Doomsday plane, which is also interesting because normally you see a Doomsday plane up. It's probably up. We just don't see it. It's being hidden from us. And the R135s or the C135s, not seeing those also is kind of telling. Very unusual not to see those bad dudes up. Every time I pull one up, there's at least one somewhere in the world that is up. Okay. So what I've basically done is grab the electronic suite. These are aircraft that have the ability to do surveillance, command and control, or like sub hunter kind of stuff. Okay. And so if you can see, let me zoom in a little bit. This E6, this thing actually will talk to the ICBMs, but it also talks to like the Trident subs. It has the ability. So that is what they call TACAMO. That's take charge and move out. As you can see, that bad dude is off of the West Coast, which would mean we probably got some U.S. Navy subs out here that they're talking to, launch commands, things like that. Excuse me. This Navy P8 in Seattle taking off. That's kind of a normal deal. E3 Sentry, that one is over. Looks like Vegas. Probably got some red flag stuff going on. So those not familiar with the E3 Sentry, I'll blow up the picture a little. That little dome, that little ring that you see on the top, that is actually air traffic control for the military, right? These guys fly around. However, they've got a bunch of other capabilities out there. They can do man in the middle, grab cell tower data, a lot of different things. And I didn't know that until about 6 months ago when a pilot from the Air Force who used to fly these told me, yeah, dude, this thing has man in the middle capability, which is going to be Dirtbox, Stingray kind of stuff right now.
Which plane was it that you said had that?
That's E3 Sentry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So this was the first I ever heard that from you. The first I ever heard that was from you, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And I looked deeper into that, by the way. Do you know that they also have cross-banding capability, which is really a powerful thing? So they expand communications at higher altitudes and are capable of receiving on one frequency and transmitting on another. So it gives man in the middle a whole new definition, bro.
Yeah, well, and yeah, it does because, and the reason that's important in what you're saying is because when you take Dirtbox and you combine it with Stingray, Dirtbox is kind of think of it from a receiver standpoint. It's surveillance. It's grabbing everything that's being transmitted. It becomes a cell phone tower, basically, airborne cell tower, and your phone doesn't even know it. If one flew over the house, my phone would just naturally connect to it, thinking it is a cell tower. When indeed it's just an aircraft acting as a cell tower, and it sucks up all my data. Anything that I've gone on photos, anything that's on my phone, it just sucks it right up like a vacuum. Okay. Now the Stingray aspect is different because when you combine that with the Dirtbox, it can push stuff to your phone.
Oh,
So if they wanted to say put dirt on somebody, or they wanted to input data that wasn't already there, like say maybe a vote or something, right? They can push that stuff into a system and you'd never know it was pushed in. And so, if they wanted to say somebody was dirty and blackmail them, they could easily do that by pushing something to their phone. They can also send commands that will cause them to basically hack into your phone or, monitor keystrokes and all kinds of different things. They have a system that is referred to as flashbang, and that's where they can actually go into your phone and take all your data, and then on their way out, basically wipe your phone. So you can't get it. They've got it, and you no longer have access to it. So if you're trying to go in and clean up your phone because you realized you'd been hacked, you'd realize that all your stuff is gone. Basically just cooks your phone. So thus the flashbang. So they get pretty dang creative when it comes to cyber attack stuff. So yeah. Okay. So we've got this this P8 right here that's actually flying up here near Delaware, Virginia Beach, coming out of probably Norfolk, Virginia. The B703 coming out of Warner Robins. There's two of them up. Those are what they call joint stars. They map battlefields, so to speak. Now, what we're not showing, and is very interesting because they don't want to be seen, is we have a bunch of Navy P8s off the coast right now of Florida, down south towards kind of in this general area, headed towards the Bahamas, that are out searching for something and don't know what it is. But they've been out here off the coast of Jacksonville and also down here. Now, they could be talking to a U.S. sub that has come in and is going to go back out. Maybe very possible. But that
Could
is,
it be, Monkey, could it be possible that they're also looking for assets that are on cargo containers? Like, for example, like a Club K or something like that?
Yeah. And R135, the sniffers could do that too. The C135. So yeah, definitely within their capability or their yeah, for sure. So, okay, let me go over to Europe here real fast and we'll take a look at what's going on over here now. It is
and then
probably
maybe
going to be.
You can comment on the Blackhawks too, because that's kind of an interesting one that I think
Yeah.
a few
We'll
people
come back
have
to
asked
that.
for as well. Okay.
Yep. So this is a E135. Now this is interesting because this is who is it? Greece is the operator on this, and it doesn't really look like it's got an electronic suite stuff on it. This could just be let me look who the maker is on that. If it's it's Embraer. All right, so we'll ignore the E135. More than likely, that's not an electronic suite. That's just an Embraer 135 that's flown by Greece. So it gets me. That's actually gotten me twice now, where I see it and I'm like, oh, this is new. I haven't seen that. You do have a drone called Pointer 40 that is actually flying. It's coming out of Cyprus, which is right off the coast of Israel and et cetera. So that is a. Let me see who the operator is. It's the UK. So the United Kingdom actually is flying that drone. So let me see if we got anything over the Middle East. I'm not seeing it. All right, let me back up. We'll grab. We'll take down all the electronic suite stuff. Again, we've got some P8 activity, P3 activity off the coast of Florida. That is not showing. I picked it up on one of the other apps, and I've got the hex code. But for some reason, just like the one that flew into the pipeline area, these guys can be very, very aloof and hidden when they want to be. So they do like to fly a lot as NAs and masked. And so if you're not looking for masked aircraft, it's hard to find them. So, okay, let's talk H60, 41 of those dudes. That's quite spectacular. All right, let me go over here to the US. And then I'll minimize my screen. So yeah, these are all the H60s that are up right now. Oh wait, my thing is thinking here. So again, 6 to 8 is kind of the normal number. So when you see that, these are Blackhawks. If you're not familiar with that, that's basically a military helicopter. A lot of the Spec Ops guys like to use these. So you get the SF community, Spec Ops, those guys that'll fly these. The way it really sets them apart, if you see a Blackhawk and it's got the refueling boom on the front, looks like a big arm sticking out of the front nose area off to the left. That's going to be a pretty good indicator you've got SF guys on board of that. So yeah, I got a lot of stuff going on here in, looks like Southern California, around your neck of the woods. And
we've been seeing them fly like crazy, dude.
Yeah.
Those guys, those are the operators, bro. Those guys are the ones that've got the refueler little nozzles on the front.
Yeah.
And they've been flying all kinds of night missions lately. We've been watching them. It's been pretty amazing. I mean, guys literally hanging from their helis.
Legs out the side doors. Yeah.
Amazing, dude. Earlier, I think it was last week, we were watching them rappelling, and we can see people rappelling because the naval or the reserve base is so close to us. We actually could see with our naked eyes. It looked like little tiny ants rappelling off these things while they're coming down. It was an amazing sight, but it would seem as though their training is becoming a lot more aggressive, man.
Yeah, they definitely are getting better at it for sure. They used to not do it as much out in the open where people could see them do it, but because of urban environments and things like that, they start to do that more and more. And I got to tell you, when you see those guys going down the ropes, you don't think much about it, but most of the time they got about an 80-pound ruck on their back. They got weapons on them, and they're hanging onto that rope. And it is gravity takes shape, man. So they're squeezing that rope with their legs to try and reduce their free fall, so to speak, down that rope, because you can flat out, if you can get hurt pretty quickly if you're not proficient at that. So that's why they do it, you know. So yeah, got a lot of stuff up in the Northeast, around DC, North Carolina. You know, you kind of expect to see some of that. North Carolina, you get the military bases there, right? A lot of the schools and stuff are up there. So, but yeah, that's going to be basically your H60s across the U.S. Like I said, that's a pretty high count, very high count. So,
So
all right.
how does that work as a data point, bro? When you start to see more of these H60s up, does it raise any sort of concerns for you when you see that many up at all at one time?
It's either they're doing a lot of training, or it's because the time of year right now, you can get some anomalies out there that'll make you perceive that something is taking shape when it really isn't. And that's because the military's dollars end in October, and they renew for the next year in October. So, you know, you get towards the end of September, and you can see them going, you know, flying a lot of hours, because if they don't, they either, you know, use it or lose it. And so when you get into October, it's new money, and now they got a whole bunch of money. And so maybe they didn't have money coming into the end of the year, but now they've hit the new cycle, and they got to get all the recurring training done and everything else. And so you'll see a lot more activity up. So that could be what we're looking at here, is just a boatload of training. But you know, also you can see sometimes you'll see missions that are taking shape, but those guys normally are pretty smart about going dark for missions. So, but that's the kind of thing when you see that, it would be things like Dagger, for example, which is your SF guys that are helping, you know, maybe, you know, like say, for example, they're taking down human trafficking, and you flew in the SF guys to do some door kicking and grabbing the bad guys. That would be your Dagger guys. Right. So, Jace,
man,
anyway.
That's a lot, bro. There is a ton happening right now. I mean, my goodness.
Yeah, it's very active out there for sure. No doubt about that. So anyway. All right. Well, that's so now you know what I know.
Yeah, and then this is really interesting. Mikey Sanchez says this, and thank you, Mikey, for your support. I'll read all the super chats in a minute, but Mikey says pairs of V-22s flying eastbound over inland OC almost daily. Very distinct sound. By the way,
Yeah.
we've been watching these things. I prior to about 6 months ago, I have only seen these types of VTOLs like maybe 4 times with my naked eyes. I mean,
Yeah.
very, very rarely. And the Osprey especially is one that I would like know, because their sound is very distinct. It's
Yeah.
you can
F-35 is the same way.
Oh yeah, same thing. You just know when they're in the air.
Yeah.
And by the way, outside of air shows, I have never seen F-35s flying in our area. Not until recently. Now I'm seeing F-35s flying in our area. At, by the way, low altitudes. At one point, I saw a couple of F-35s flying at no higher than 1,000 feet AGL. I'm guessing probably closer to 500 AGL, which is like, you know, most people know when we're talking about, you know, above ground level, 500 feet, that's like helicopters aren't flying that low at times.
Yeah.
It's amazing to see that. And I've watched it on multiple occasions now, and the Ospreys have been really, really remarkable in seeing that. I mean, I've been mind boggled to kind of see what that's been looking like. It's been unbelievable. I don't know where the increase in all that's been coming from.
Yeah, well, we're getting ready for war. It's simple as that. I mean, a lot of exercises. I mean, you can go look at the NOTAMs out there, and it is, you know, there's a lot of military ops, exercises going on right now all around the world.
I just received a NOTAM. I got a NOTAM because the FAA sends NOTAMs as well to those of us that fly radio-controlled helicopters because of the significance of the size it's in the air. So I just got a NOTAM from the FAA a few days ago telling me that I couldn't fly yesterday or the day before, pretty much within 30 miles, nautical miles of LAX and of Burbank. And they cited 2 reasons. Number one, military exercises. But the primary reason was safety. Now, I'm guessing that means that we had a notable flying into town. I don't know if that meant that, you know, we had, you know,
Flashbang.
Oh, it was Flashbang. So Flashbang was in town. That's why we got it. But man, it is. And by the way, let me just tell you something. When I was looking at the sky yesterday and the day before, it was naked. A lot of the commercial aircraft that I saw were taking paths that were completely different. And now I'm beginning to remember that's why they were flying different paths because of the NOTAMs that's been coming out with respect to the TFRs.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. And it's like I said, there's definitely an uptick all over the world. It's not just US. You got it down in Mexico, you've got it on the border of Canada, you've got it across across the drink. Europe is just a hot mess. Like I said, I'm just looking so forward to this flight to get in and out of Israel. This is going to be,
dude.
especially because
are you flying? Oh, but that's right. You're not even flying El Al, which is that's kind of interesting. I'm not going to I'm going to be quiet about all those flight arrangements. We'll talk about that offline.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Monkey, we're going to wrap it up because we're going to go over to locals. Folks, I just want to make a comment regarding the locals issue. You guys are so awesome. I feel the need to say it all the time. But I am like so unbelievably blessed with the kind of support that you guys have continued to show on locals. And as I've said before, it's a direct blessing to me and my family. You have absolutely no idea. I think it's very similar to Monkey's family that supports him on Patreon. It just goes a long way for us both. And I'm just very thankful for what you guys are doing in that vein. What I'm going to do is I'm going to post the link up there. We have had some people actually say, hey, listen, I can't afford it, but I'd like to be a part of it. As I've said before on many occasions, I would be happy to pay for your subscription if it's not a cheapskate thing, but if it's a I can't afford it thing. And there are lots of people that can't afford things like that. And I would be happy to pay for it out of my own pocket, but you need to tell us. And the only requests that I'm answering are ones that go to ccsh@calvarychapelsignalhill.com. Any other requests through local support or anything like that, I'm not going to be paying attention to those because it's too hard to keep track of them. And my dear, amazing, wonderful staff keeps track of those, namely Abby, because she's the regulator, when I have not taken care of them. There's a checklist, and it's very important. And thank you, by the way, for the encouraging comments. But Monkey, before we go over to locals, any closing comments? Because what we talked about is pretty heavy stuff. And then I'm going to read, and then I'm going to actually, maybe before the closing comments, I'll just read these these that came in, and I'm going to go through them very, very quickly because obviously they are important. All of you guys that did super chats and super stickers, and there was a lot of you guys that did. Let me just read through these pretty quickly. Actually, oh my goodness, there may be too many to read, but I'm going to do my very, very best. Sir Lewis Canton of the Burke Cookie, you say, sorry, I can't watch live. I'm watching Pastor Jack Hibbs on his Happening Now about babies and abortion. I can't stop watching it. God bless him. Yeah, Jack is fighting. He's on our side, which is good.
Yeah, he is.
Monkey, when I figured out, this is Jessica Faley, when I figured out what the nursing home was on your sit reps, I died. Thank you for the comedy. Blessings both. The nursing home is, some of these are so
Senior
original.
Living Center.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's awesome. Don Diskin Holland, you say, Tom will protect you, Monkey. Seriously, Jesus will. If you spot Poseidon from the plane, tell a brother or a sister. Okay. Lots of laughs. Elizabeth, it is kind of funny, but it's not so funny. And then I laugh after I say that. Elizabeth Slaughter Burr, thank you so much for all the work you all do. By the way, that pre-show rocks. Thank you so much. That is Charles. Good job on you, Charles. It's a great reflection. Thunderfish says, thank you both for all you do and the information you bring to us in these crazy times. God bless you both. Thank you both for all that you do. This is Jeanette Elizabeth, and speaking truth to all who need to hear. God bless. Jay Sup, you say this is to start Monkey's mid-length epoxy surfboard fund for when he returns to SoCal and Florida. Great to see you all. Tom's HB conference and Monkey. Sorry I missed you holding court at the SHCC Sunday services. Yeah, and it was great. I think, Signal Hill, Calvary Chapel. That's what that means.
Yeah.
Mary Beth Ryan, thank you for your support. Bart Jamanjin, thank you. You say, God bless you, James and Monkey. Greets from Bart Jan from the Netherlands. What a warrior. Awesome. NB, thank you. Riella, thank you. Joanne Dwyer, thank you. Appreciate both of you. There was a rumor that B2s were landing in Poland. Monkey, have you verified this? What would you? I think.
B2s are hard to spot. I will
Yeah.
tell you that. So unless somebody actually printed it, like maybe the drive or something like that, you didn't. I wouldn't see them on radar.
Yeah, they
They don't
don't show up.
broadcast where those things go. They are
Yep.
very, very aloof. But I will tell you, I am doing a video. It's just a short one, about 15 minutes long, while I'm in Israel. That I've already recorded. I've just got to get in and do the editing and make it look presentable. But on the B2 as well as the B21, the new one, and yeah, that aircraft is very interesting. It's very unique in that it gets people by surprise. But the reason the B21 is coming along is because that B2 can't do what it used to do and be effective as it used to be. The Russians and the Chinese have developed radar capabilities that allow them to pick those up now, and so they're having to change the mission from a high altitude to low altitude, low level missions, and that's what the B21 is going to be designed for, is coming in low instead of high. So
And
pretty
that
crazy.
B21 is sexy. I'm just
Yeah,
telling you, it's a pretty amazing piece of American technology.
yeah, for sure.
So Sheila Sowards, Lisa Dunn, thank you both so much. Jay Sup, people be prepped. The rapture could come after our civil war, exchange of nukes, or economic collapse. If it does come before, leave notes and be a blessing for those left behind. God doesn't promise comfort. You're right. Lupe Galindo, thank you. Mike Sanchez, thank you. Don Diskin Holland. Dirtbox made me think of Charlie Brown character Pigpen's brother. It's probably very true. And Mikey, I already read your comment. Closing thoughts or comments, bro, before we switch over to locals?
Yep. I'm just gonna say, remember, God didn't bring you this far to abandon you. So He's got a plan for all of us. He's actually already executed His plan, and now it's just everything's going according to His will. And when I say He's executed His plan, that is His Lord or our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. The fact that He went to the cross for us, grafted us in to that everlasting life. I mean, had He not done that, had the Jews recognized Him when He showed up, things would be a lot different for us. We would not have the ability to be saved or redeemed without, without that. So the way things went, all according to plan, are the reason why His plan is so complete. And so just don't lose sight of that. As crazy as things are, it's always faith over fear. Let go, let God, and just remember that He's got you during this time. And when you start feeling anxious, and kind of apprehensive about the things that are going on around you, just take a step back, get into that prayer closet, get some quiet time with Him, and He will reassure you. I can promise you that.
Amen and amen. And many of us have been commenting on this, Monkey, and I represent those of us that have been talking about it, but we've been really, really blessed by what is your radical increase in Bible knowledge and its application. It's been very encouraging to me and inspiring, and the comment that you just made is direct evidence of that. And I think it's what makes you better at what you do, and I think it's what makes the enemy hate you more. So
Yes.
that's
Well, I
awesome.
couldn't sleep last
Great
night. Thank you, though.
insight. Yeah, that's right. So let's pray and ask the Lord to go before us as we finish up, and then we'll be switching over to locals. Father in heaven, I just thank you so much, Lord, for my dear brother. Thank you, Lord, for your goodness and your kindness. And Lord, the fact that you continue to show yourself strong on our behalf, because you are good, and that is certain. And so, Lord, thank you, Father, for what you're continuing to do, what you continue to show us. We love you. Keep us looking to you now, Lord. We just ask these things now in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, you guys, God bless you. And as Monkey would say,
Monkey out.
Monkey.
What would I say? I'm not with it.
Stay frosty and keep the powder.
Oh, yeah,
Wait,
yeah.
Stay frosty and keep the
that
powder dry.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
right.